My coffee cup crashes to the kitchen floor as Karen screams at me for the third time this morning. The brown liquid spreads across the white tiles I installed myself 20 years ago, but I don't move to clean it up. I can't. Her words hit me like punches to the stomach. You're old and useless, get out, she shouts, her face bright red with anger. I'm sick of carrying dead weight around here. Standing in my own kitchen, I feel my hands shake as I grip the marble counter. The same counter where I helped Karen with her homework when she was 8. Where we made pancakes every Sunday morning after her mother died. Where I taught her to cook her first meal. Karen waves a stack of papers in my face. Bank statements. Mortgage documents. Bills I thought I had paid correctly. Look at this mess, Dad. 3 months behind on the house payment. The bank called yesterday threatening foreclosure. You can't even figure out simple online banking anymore. I try to speak, but she cuts me off. Don't give me excuses about the website being different. Everyone else manages just fine. Mrs. Chen next door is older than you and she runs her own online business. Her husband Mark walks into the kitchen, dressed in his expensive suit. He's talking on his phone, making some business deal, acting like this family crisis is just background noise. When he finally hangs up, he looks at me with the same expression he'd use for a broken appliance. Karen's right, Frank, he says, not meeting my eyes. This house is worth $400,000. We can't lose it because you refuse to learn basic technology. The words sting because part of me knows they're true. At 73, every new app feels like climbing a mountain. Every software update makes me feel more lost. The bank's website changed again last month, and I spent 2 hours trying to figure out where they moved the payment button. But I built this house with my own hands. Every board, every nail, every pipe. I raised Karen here after her mother passed away from cancer when Karen was just 12. I worked double shifts at the electrical plant to pay for her college, her wedding, her dreams. I can learn, I say quietly. Just give me time to figure it out. Karen laughs, but there's no humor in it. Time? Dad, we don't have time. The foreclosure notice gives us 30 days. 30 days to come up with $12,000 in back payments, plus penalties. She pulls out her laptop and opens it on the kitchen table. The screen shows our bank account, numbers that make my heart sink. We're not just behind on the house. We're behind on everything. Look at this, she says, pointing at transaction after transaction. Failed payment, failed payment, failed payment. You've been messing up the automatic payments for months. I lean closer to the screen, squinting at the small text. Everything looks different than it used to. Buttons have moved. The layout has changed. What used to take me 5 minutes now takes an hour of hunting and clicking. The electric bill bounced twice, Karen continues. The water company called yesterday. Even the garbage service is threatening to stop pickup. Mark crosses his arms and shakes his head. This is exactly what I warned you about, Karen. When old people can't adapt, they become a liability. The word liability hits me like a slap. I've never been a liability to anyone. I served in Vietnam. I worked 42 years without missing a day. I coached Little League, volunteered at the fire station, helped rebuild 3 houses after the tornado in '98. I'm not a liability, I say, but my voice comes out weaker than I intended. Really? Karen snaps. Then explain this. She pulls up the mortgage company's website on her laptop. The screen is full of red warning messages, payment schedules I don't recognize, and terms I've never seen before. They switched to a new system 6 months ago, she explains, talking to me like I'm a child. You were supposed to create a new account with a new password. Instead, you kept trying to use the old login information. I remember that day. The website looked completely different. There were boxes to fill out, security questions I couldn't remember the answers to, and a phone number that put me on hold for 2 hours. I called them, I protest. The lady on the phone said she would help me set it up. And did you follow through? Karen asks, already knowing the answer. I didn't. The lady sent me an email with instructions, but the email had attachments I couldn't open. When I called back, they transferred me to 3 different people who all asked me to repeat the same information. Finally, I gave up and figured I'd try again later. This is what I'm talking about, Karen says, closing the laptop with a sharp snap. You give up the moment something gets difficult. You expect the world to work the way it did in 1985. Mark nods his agreement. My grandmother went through the same thing. She couldn't adapt to modern life, so we had to put her in assisted living. Maybe it's time to consider that option here. Assisted living. The words make my chest tight. I think about my neighbor, Mr. Rodriguez, who moved to one of those places last year. His daughter visits once a month. He sits by the window all day, waiting for someone to remember he exists. I'm not ready for that, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. It's not about what you're ready for, Karen replies. It's about reality. You can't handle the responsibilities of homeownership anymore. You can't manage finances. You can't use basic technology. Face the facts, Dad. I look around the kitchen, remembering all the work I put into this house. The cabinets I built during Karen's senior year of high school. The new windows I installed when she brought Mark home for the first time. The deck I added when they got married, hoping they'd visit more often with grandchildren. Grandchildren who never came. Karen and Mark decided kids would interfere with their careers. Where am I supposed to go? I ask. For your new living situation, Karen answers. The senior community requires a deposit. So they've already picked out my prison cell. They've already decided my future without asking what I want or need or dream about. The coffee stain on the floor has spread wider now, seeping into the grout lines I sealed myself just last spring. I finally bend down to clean it up, using paper towels from the holder Karen bought me for Father's Day 3 years ago. As I wipe up the mess, I hear them talking over my head about property values and market conditions and how quickly they can close on a sale. Talking about my life like I'm not even in the room. You're old and useless, get out. Karen had screamed. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is what happens when the world moves faster than you can follow. Maybe this is how every old person's story ends, with children who see them as problems to be solved rather than people to be loved. Snow hits my face like tiny needles as I walk away from the only home I've ever owned. Each step feels heavier than the last, and I can't tell if I'm shaking from the cold or from what just happened inside that warm kitchen. Behind me, yellow light glows through the windows of my house. Karen and Mark are probably already on the phone with the realtor, discussing how fast they can sell the place. Discussing how to get rid of the old man who's become such a burden. I pull my thin jacket tighter around my chest, but it doesn't help much. February in Michigan isn't kind to anyone, especially not to someone walking the streets at 8 o'clock at night with nowhere to go. My feet carry me down Maple Street without any real plan. Past the Johnsons' house where I helped repair their roof after the hailstorm. Past the empty lot where the old Kmart's used to be before it closed down like everything else from my generation. The wind picks up, and snowflakes swirl around the streetlights like angry ghosts. I dig my hands deeper into my pockets, feeling for my wallet. $37 and a credit card I'm afraid to use because I don't remember if I paid the bill this month. Where does a 73-year-old man go when his own daughter throws him out? The homeless shelter is probably full, and the thought of sleeping on a cot surrounded by strangers makes my stomach twist. The motel on Highway 9 charges $60 a night, money I don't have for more than a few days. My fingers are getting numb despite my gloves. The old ones with holes in the thumbs that Karen always nagged me to replace. Funny how the things that seemed unimportant this morning feel precious now. 20 minutes of walking brings me to downtown, where most of the storefronts are dark except for Murphy's Diner. The same red neon sign that's been flickering since the Clinton administration casts a warm glow on the snowy sidewalk. Through the windows, I can see a few customers nursing coffee and late dinners. The bell above the door chimes as I step inside, and the sudden warmth makes my cheeks sting. The smell of fried onions and fresh coffee wraps around me like a hug from an old friend. Frank? Honey, what are you doing out in this weather? Rosa Martinez appears from behind the counter, concern written across her weathered face. She's been working at Murphy's since the 80s, back when I used to bring Karen here for ice cream after her piano lessons. Just needed some air, I lie, sliding into the corner booth where my wife Helen and I used to sit every Friday night. The red vinyl seat cushion still has the same crack it's had for 10 years. Rosa follows me to the table, carrying a pot of coffee without being asked. She's always been like that, knowing what people need before they ask for it. Air? In a blizzard. She pours the coffee, and steam rises between us like a question mark. Frank, You look like you've seen a ghost. The coffee cup warms my hands, and I wrap my fingers around it like it's the most precious thing in the world. Maybe it is, right now. Karen thinks I'm too old to live on my own, I finally say. Rosa sits down across from me, something she never does when the diner is busy. But there are only 3 other customers tonight, and they're all regulars who can wait a few minutes for their check. Too old according to who? She asks. So I tell her everything. About the mortgage payments I couldn't figure out how to make online. About the bank's new website that might as well be written in a foreign language. About Karen's screaming and Mark's cold calculations and their plan to sell my house and ship me off to some senior facility an hour away. Rosa listens without interrupting, occasionally refilling my cup or shaking her head at the worst parts. When I finish, she's quiet for a long moment. I've been watching you come in here for 30 years, she finally says. You helped my son Miguel with his math homework when he was struggling in high school. You fixed my car that time it broke down in the parking lot. You shoveled Mrs. Chen's driveway every week after her husband died. That's different, I say. Those are simple things. Simple. Rosa laughs, but it's not mean. Frank, you rewired half this building when the electrical system went bad 5 years ago. The owner was ready to shut us down rather than pay for an electrician, and you spent 3 weekends crawling around in the basement fixing everything for free. I remember that. The wiring was a mess, installed by someone who didn't know what they were doing. It took me longer than it would have 30 years ago, but I got it done. That's just practical stuff, I protest. This computer thing is different. Everything changes every month. As soon as I learn one way to do something, they update it and move all the buttons around. Rosa nods knowingly. My grandson tries to help me with my phone sometimes. Makes me feel stupid when he can do in 5 seconds what takes me 5 minutes. A customer at the counter signals for his check, and Rosa excuses herself to take care of him. While she's gone, I stare out the window at the snow falling heavier now. The parking lot is already covered in white, and I can barely see the streetlights through the swirling flakes. Where am I going to sleep tonight? The thought keeps circling back no matter how hard I try to push it away. Rosa returns with a plate of meatloaf and mashed potatoes, setting it down in front of me even though I didn't order anything. You need to eat, she says when I start to protest. And don't worry about paying. We can settle up later. The meatloaf tastes like comfort, like Sunday dinners with Helen before the cancer took her away. I realize I haven't eaten since breakfast, too nervous about the mortgage situation to think about food. Rosa, I say between bites, can I ask you something? Of course, honey. Do you think Karen's right? Am I too old to take care of myself? Rosa considers this seriously, like I've asked her to solve a math problem. Can you still cook for yourself? Yes. Can you still drive safely? Yes. Haven't had an accident in 40 years. Can you still think clearly, make decisions, tell right from wrong? I think so. Then you're not too old for anything except maybe climbing on roofs without a safety harness. She pauses. But Frank, being able to take care of yourself and being able to navigate this crazy digital world are 2 different things. The truth in her words hits me hard. I can still do most things that matter. I can still cook a decent meal, maintain a clean house, handle my personal hygiene, drive to the store. But somehow, the world has decided that none of that counts if you can't figure out online banking. The thing is, Rosa continues, these computer problems aren't really about being old. They're about everything being designed by young people who assume everyone thinks like they do. She tells me about her sister Carmen, who's 55 and works in an office downtown. Carmen spends half her day helping her coworkers with computer problems because the IT department designs systems that only make sense to other IT people. It's not that you're stupid or useless, Rosa explains. It's that nobody bothers to make this stuff user-friendly for people who didn't grow up with it. Outside, the wind rattles the windows, and I realize the storm is getting worse. The few remaining customers pay their bills and hurry out into the night, leaving Rosa and me alone in the warm diner. I don't have anywhere to go tonight, I admit. Rosa doesn't look surprised. She's probably been wondering about that since I walked in looking like a lost dog. My nephew used to rent the apartment upstairs, she says, pointing toward a door marked private near the back of the diner. He moved to California last month for some tech job. Place is still furnished, just sitting empty. Rosa, I can't take charity. It's not charity, she interrupts. It's neighbors helping neighbors. Besides, someone should be up there keeping an eye on things. Preventing pipes from freezing, making sure nobody breaks in. She disappears into the kitchen and returns with a key ring. Bathrooms down the hall, kitchen's got basic stuff. Heat works fine, but the hot water takes a minute to get going. I take the key, feeling its weight in my palm. Such a small thing, but it represents safety, warmth, a place to think about what comes next. Thank you, I say, and the words don't feel big enough for what she's offering. Thank me by figuring out your next move, Rosa replies, already starting to clean the coffee machine for closing. Because honey, this isn't the end of your story. Not by a long shot. Upstairs, the apartment is small but clean. A bed, a chair, a kitchenette with a window overlooking Main Street. I sit on the edge of the bed and watch the snow fall past the streetlight outside. Karen's words keep echoing in my head. You're old and useless, get out. But Rosa's words echo too. This isn't the end of your story. Tomorrow, I'll have to figure out what the next chapter looks like. Tonight, I'm just grateful to be warm and safe, even if I have no idea what morning will bring. A 12-year-old boy sits alone at the corner table, hitting his tablet with frustration as numbers flash and disappear on the broken screen. I watch him from my booth at Murphy's Diner, recognizing the same helpless feeling I had with that mortgage website. Stupid thing, Tommy Chin mutters, loud enough for half the diner to hear. His grandmother dropped him off an hour ago before her shift at the hospital, and he's supposed to be doing math homework that keeps crashing every few minutes. Something about his struggle pulls me out of my chair. Maybe it's because he reminds me of myself yesterday, fighting with technology that seems designed to make people fail. Mind if I take a look? I ask, sliding into the seat across from him. Tommy looks up with tired eyes behind thick glasses. It's broken. This dumb tablet can't handle the math program the school makes us use. The screen shows an error message I've seen before on my own computer, insufficient memory to complete operation. Below it, a spinning wheel that's been spinning for 5 minutes. How many apps do you have running? I ask. Tommy stares at me like I just spoke in a foreign language. I don't know. I just turn it on and start my homework. I turn the tablet toward me and check the background applications. 14 different programs are running at once, games, social media, streaming videos, all eating up the device's memory like hungry wolves. Here's your problem, I explain, closing the unnecessary apps one by one. Think of your tablet like a small kitchen. If you try to cook 14 different meals at the same time, you run out of counter space. Same thing here, too many programs fighting for the same memory. Within 2 minutes, the math program loads smoothly. Tommy's eyes widen as problems appear clearly on the screen for the first time in weeks. How did you know how to do that? He asks. Same principle as electrical circuits, I tell him. Too much demand on a limited system causes failures. I spent 40 years troubleshooting overloaded circuits at the power plant. Tommy works through 3 math problems without a single crash. Other kids in the diner start noticing, including Maria Rodriguez, who's been struggling with her science project on a laptop that randomly shuts down. Can you look at mine too? She asks shyly. Her laptop is overheating because the air vents are clogged with dust and pet hair. A simple cleaning with a can of compressed air from the hardware store next door solves the problem instantly. Word spreads quickly in a small town. By the end of the week, elderly Mrs. Patterson brings her dead computer, convinced she's lost 20 years of family photos. The hard drive is fine, she just needs a new power cord that costs $12. Frank fixed it in 10 minutes, she tells Rosa while I'm having coffee. The computer store wanted to charge me $300 for data recovery. Rosa smiles knowingly. Seems like our Frank isn't as useless as some people claimed. The comment stings because it reminds me of Karen's cruel words, but it also plants a seed of something I haven't felt in months: usefulness. Mr. Kowalski stops by the next Tuesday with his ancient laptop. His son in Portland wants to video chat with him, but he can't figure out how to install the calling software. The instructions are in computer language, he complains. Download this, install that, update the other thing. Might as well be written in Chinese. I spend an hour walking him through each step, explaining what every button does and why. By the end, he's successfully talking to his son's family, watching his grandchildren show off their latest drawings. You're a lifesaver, Frank, Mr. Kowalski says, tears in his eyes as he watches his grandson play piano through the computer screen. I haven't seen them in 2 years. Each small victory builds my confidence. I start to remember that being older doesn't mean being stupid, it means having experience that younger people lack. I understand how things break, how systems fail, how to find simple solutions to complex problems. Rosa watches this transformation with the satisfaction of someone who knew it would happen all along. You're building quite a reputation, she tells me over coffee. Half the neighborhood has been in here asking about the man who fixes computers. But the real breakthrough comes when Tommy's math teacher, Mrs. Sullivan, visits the diner on a Friday afternoon. She's heard about the mysterious helper who's been solving her students' technology problems. I don't suppose you'd be interested in volunteering at the school, she asks. We have a computer lab full of outdated equipment that breaks down constantly. The IT company charges us a fortune for service calls. The elementary school's computer lab looks like a museum of failed technology. 15 desktop computers that range from barely functional to completely dead. The newest one is 8 years old. The district keeps promising new equipment, Mrs. Sullivan explains, but the budget never seems to have room for it. Meanwhile, these kids are supposed to learn digital skills on machines that crash every 10 minutes. I spend the weekend diagnosing each computer. Most of the problems are simple: corrupted software, overloaded hard drives, loose connections. By Monday morning, 12 of the 15 computers are running smoothly. The 3 that can't be saved become organ donors. I strip them for parts to keep the others running longer. This is incredible, Mrs. Sullivan says, watching third graders work on typing exercises without a single computer crash. You've accomplished more in 3 days than our IT company managed in 3 years. Working with the kids reminds me why I became an electrician in the first place. I loved solving puzzles, figuring out why things didn't work, making broken systems whole again. These computer problems aren't really different from the electrical problems I solved for 4 decades. Tommy becomes my unofficial assistant, learning to diagnose problems and explain solutions to other students. His confidence grows with each successful repair, and his grades improve when he's not fighting broken technology. My mom wants to know if you can look at our home computer, he tells me one afternoon. It keeps making weird noises and running really slow. The Chen family's computer is infected with so much malware it's barely functional. Mrs. Chen, who works double shifts as a nurse, had been clicking on every pop-up that appeared, thinking they were legitimate warnings. Cleaning the system takes 3 hours, but when I'm finished, their computer runs like new. Mrs. Chen insists on paying me, but I refuse. You remind me of my father, she says with tears in her eyes. He always helped neighbors without expecting anything in return. We need more people like you in this world. Her words hit me harder than I expected. For the first time since Karen threw me out, I feel valuable again. Not just useful, valuable. There's a difference. The phone call comes on a Wednesday evening while I'm having dinner at the diner. Rosa hands me her phone with a strange expression. Frank? It's Mrs. Sullivan from the school. Can you come in tomorrow morning? We have a situation. The next morning, I arrive at the school to find Mrs. Sullivan pacing outside the computer lab, looking frantic. Someone broke in last night, she explains. They didn't steal anything, but they destroyed half the computers we just fixed. Smashed screens, pulled out cables, poured coffee on keyboards. Inside the lab, the damage is worse than she described. It's not random vandalism, it's targeted destruction. Someone took time to disable each computer in a different way, making sure they couldn't be easily repaired. Why would someone do this? Mrs. Sullivan asks. I study the damage pattern, and something doesn't feel right. The destruction is too precise, too knowledgeable. Whoever did this understood exactly how to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Has anyone been asking questions about our computer program? I ask. Mrs. Sullivan thinks for a moment. Actually, yes. A woman called last week asking about our volunteer policies. She seemed particularly interested in our technology support. A cold feeling settles in my stomach. What did she sound like? Professional. Maybe mid-40s. She said she was researching volunteer opportunities for her father, but she asked a lot of specific questions about who was working here and what kind of access they had. The description fits Karen perfectly. But why would she care about my volunteer work at an elementary school? Tommy arrives for his before-school computer time and stops short when he sees the destruction. Mr. Frank, what happened? Someone doesn't want us helping kids with their computers, I tell him honestly. As we survey the damage together, I realize this isn't just about broken computers anymore. Someone is trying to sabotage the one thing that's been giving my life meaning again. But they've made a mistake. They've underestimated an old electrician who spent 40 years fixing things that other people broke. Can we fix them? Tommy asks hopefully. I look at the mess of cables and shattered screens, then at the eager faces of kids who depend on this computer lab for their education. We're going to try, I promise. But first, we need to figure out who did this and why they wanted to stop us. Rosa bursts through the diner door at 6 in the morning, her face pale and her hands shaking as she waves her phone at me. The morning rush hasn't started yet, and I'm the only customer nursing coffee and trying to forget about yesterday's computer lab destruction. Frank, you need to see this right now, she says, sliding into my booth without her usual cheerful greeting. The phone screen shows a news article from the local paper's website, Elementary School Teacher Arrested in Embezzlement Scandal. Below the headline is a photo that makes my blood freeze. Karen, dressed in her professional blazer, being led away in handcuffs. Karen Morrison, 45, was arrested yesterday evening on charges of stealing over $80,000 from the Lincoln Elementary School District's Special Education Fund, Rosa reads aloud. The alleged theft occurred over an 18-month period through sophisticated digital transfers that prosecutors say were designed to avoid detection. My hands go numb around my coffee cup. The daughter who called me too old and useless to handle technology has been using that same technology to steal money from children with special needs. There's more, Rosa continues, scrolling down the article. According to court documents, Morrison allegedly used her position as district technology coordinator to access accounts and redirect funds to personal accounts. The theft was discovered during a routine audit last month. Technology coordinator. The irony hits me like a punch to the stomach. Karen spent months criticizing my inability to navigate simple websites while she was sophisticated enough to hack into school district accounts. Frank, are you okay? You look like you're about to be sick. I feel sick. Sick and confused and angry and hurt all at the same time. Keep reading, I managed to say. Rosa continues with the article. The investigation began when district officials noticed discrepancies in the special education budget. Morrison had allegedly been transferring funds in small amounts to avoid triggering automatic audit alerts. Small amounts. Just like the mortgage payments that kept failing. Just like the bills that kept bouncing. A terrible thought starts forming in my mind. What does it say about her personal finances? I ask. Rosa scans further down. Morrison's husband, Mark Morrison, filed for divorce yesterday, citing irreconcilable differences. Court records show the couple was facing foreclosure on their $400,000 home due to missed mortgage payments. The pieces click together like a puzzle I never wanted to solve. The mortgage problems weren't because I couldn't figure out online banking. They were because Karen was stealing our payment money to cover her tracks at work. She made me think I was failing, I whisper. Every missed payment, every bounced check, she blamed it on my computer problems. Rosa reaches across the table and grabs my hand. Oh honey, you weren't failing. She was covering up her crimes by making you look incompetent. The bell above the door chimes, and Mrs. Sullivan walks in, looking exhausted. She spots me immediately and hurries over. Frank, I'm so sorry to bother you so early, but I had to tell you something about the break-in yesterday. She sits down without being invited, her teacher instincts kicking in as she organizes her thoughts. I've been thinking about that woman who called asking questions about our volunteer program. I remembered something else. She specifically asked about you. About me? She knew your name, Frank. She asked if Frank Morrison was volunteering in our computer lab, and whether he had access to student information or school systems. Morrison. My last name. Karen had been checking up on me, making sure I wasn't somehow discovering her theft through my work at the school. There's something else, Mrs. Sullivan continues. I talked to the principal this morning about the break-in. She said Karen Morrison used to volunteer in our computer lab 3 years ago, back when she first got the job with the district. She would have known exactly how to disable our systems. The coffee in my stomach turns to acid. Karen destroyed those computers to stop me from learning too much about technology, to keep me feeling helpless and dependent. She couldn't risk having me become computer literate enough to discover what she'd been doing with our finances. Rosa shakes her head in disgust. That woman sabotaged her own father to protect her criminal activities. But why steal from special needs kids? Mrs. Sullivan asks. Those are the most vulnerable children in our district. That money pays for speech therapy, occupational therapy, specialized equipment. I think about Tommy and his broken tablet, about Mrs. Chen working double shifts to support her family, about Mr. Kowalski crying as he talked to his grandchildren. Karen stole from people who couldn't fight back, who trusted the system to protect them. Money, I say simply. She needed money to maintain her lifestyle, and she thought special education funds would be overlooked longer than other accounts. The diner starts filling up with the breakfast crowd, but nobody sits near our table. Word has already spread about Karen's arrest, and people keep glancing over with curiosity and sympathy. Rosa brings fresh coffee without being asked. What are you going to do now, Frank? That's the question I've been avoiding since I read the news article. What do you do when you discover your only child has been manipulating and using you to cover up crimes against children? I need to talk to her, I finally say. Mrs. Sullivan looks surprised. After what she did to you. After she threw you out and called you useless. She's still my daughter, I explain, though the words taste bitter. I need to understand how she became someone who could steal from disabled kids. The county jail visiting room smells like disinfectant and despair. Karen sits across from me at a metal table, wearing an orange jumpsuit that makes her look smaller and younger than I remember. Her perfectly styled hair is flat, her makeup gone, her confidence completely stripped away. Dad! Her voice cracks when she sees me. I didn't think you'd come. Neither did I admit. We sit in silence for a long moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us like a wall. I'm sorry, she finally whispers. About what I said. About throwing you out. About all of it. Are you sorry about stealing from special needs children? The question hits her like a slap. She flinches and looks down at her hands, which are shaking slightly. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone, she says, not meeting my eyes. The district has millions of dollars. I was going to pay it back. When? After you let them foreclose on my house because I supposedly couldn't make payments. Karen's face crumbles. I was desperate, Dad. Mark was pressuring me about money constantly. He wanted the big house, the expensive cars, the country club membership. I couldn't keep up with what he expected. So you stole money meant for children who need help communicating, who need special equipment to learn? You don't understand the pressure I was under. I understand plenty, I say, my voice staying calm despite the anger burning in my chest. I understand that you chose to commit crimes rather than admit you were struggling. I understand that you let me believe I was failing as a person rather than tell the truth about our finances. Karen starts crying, but they're selfish tears, tears for getting caught, not for the people she hurt. Mark left me, she sobs. He filed for divorce the day I was arrested. Said he couldn't be married to a criminal. Took everything we had left. Maybe Mark finally learned what I should have understood years ago, that actions have consequences. She looks up at me with desperate eyes. What am I going to do, Dad? The lawyer says I could go to prison for 10 years. I'll lose my teaching license, my career, everything. The old me would have immediately started planning how to help her, how to fix this problem like I'd fixed so many others throughout her life. But the man sitting in this visiting room has learned something important over the past few weeks. You'll figure it out, I say, standing up to leave. You're smart enough to steal $80,000 without getting caught for 18 months. You're smart enough to face the consequences. Dad, please. You're the only family I have left. I need your help. I pause at the door and look back at her one more time. She looks like the little girl who used to climb into my lap when she had nightmares, but that little girl is gone. In her place sits a woman who chose greed over integrity, who hurt innocent children to maintain her lifestyle. Karen, I spent 40 years helping people solve their problems. But some problems can only be solved by the person who created them. Walking out of that jail, I feel something I haven't experienced in months. Freedom. Not just from Karen's manipulation and blame, but from the obligation to rescue someone who doesn't want to be rescued. The afternoon sun feels warm on my face as I head back toward Murphy's Diner, toward the life I've been building one repaired computer at a time. The phone rings at 2 in the morning, jolting me awake in my small apartment above Murphy's Diner. Karen's name appears on the caller ID, and my first instinct is to let it go to voicemail. But something about a call at this hour makes me answer. Dad. Her voice sounds different, smaller, broken in a way I've never heard before. I'm sorry to call so late, but I didn't know who else to contact. I sit up in bed, immediately alert. What's wrong? They're moving me to county lockup tomorrow. My lawyer says the judge denied bail because I'm a flight risk. She's crying, but trying to hide it. Dad, I'm scared. The other inmates here, they know I stole from kids. They're not treating me well. Part of me wants to hang up. After everything she's put me through, every cruel word and manipulative action, she doesn't deserve my sympathy. But another part of me remembers the little girl who used to run to me when she scraped her knee. Have you talked to Mark? I ask, though I already know the answer. Mark won't take my calls. His lawyer sent papers yesterday. He's not just divorcing me, he's trying to get the court to make me responsible for all our debts. Says I deceived him about our finances. The irony would be funny if it weren't so sad. Mark, who pushed Karen toward the lifestyle that led to her stealing, is now abandoning her to save himself. What about your friends? Your co-workers? Karen laughs bitterly. What friends? Everyone at school thinks I'm a monster. The teachers whose programs I cut to steal money won't even look at me. My book club kicked me out. Even my hairstylist canceled my appointments. She's learning what I learned when she threw me out, that sometimes you discover who really cares about you when everything falls apart. Dad, I know I don't deserve to ask, but could you come see me again? I need to tell you some things. Important things about the money. Against my better judgment, I agree to visit her the next afternoon. The county jail is grimmer than the holding facility where I saw her before. Karen looks exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and a bruise on her left cheek that she tries to hide with her hair. What happened to your face? I ask. Nothing. Just, some of the women here don't like people who steal from children. She touches the bruise gingerly. Dad, I need to tell you something about the mortgage payments. I already know you were stealing our payment money. No, it's worse than that. She takes a shaky breath. I wasn't just stealing the payments. I was borrowing against the house equity to cover what I took from the school district. My stomach drops. What does that mean? I took out a second mortgage without telling you. Used your signature from old documents and forged new ones. The house you think is worth $400,000? It actually has $600,000 in loans against it. The words hit me like a physical blow. Not only did Karen steal from disabled children, she also forged my signature to put my house underwater financially. How is that even possible? Online banking, she says with bitter irony. The same technology you couldn't figure out. I set up new accounts, submitted digital applications, even created fake pay stubs showing higher income. Banks barely verify anything anymore if the credit score looks good. I feel sick. While I was struggling to make simple payments, Karen was committing multiple felonies using my identity. So even if I could somehow make the regular payments, we'd still lose the house? Yes. Dad, I'm so sorry. I was desperate, and I thought I could fix everything before you found out. By making me think I was too stupid to handle my own finances. Karen's face crumples. I convinced myself I was protecting you from stress. That if you knew how bad things really were, you'd have a heart attack or something. So you decided to let me believe I was losing my mind instead. We sit in silence for several minutes. Around us, other families have similar conversations. Children disappointed in parents, spouses devastated by betrayal, people trying to understand how their loved ones became strangers. There's something else, Karen says quietly. The prosecutor wants to offer me a plea deal. What kind of deal? 7 years in prison instead of 15. But I have to provide full restitution to the school district and cooperate with the investigation. 7 years. Karen would be 52 when she got out, her teaching career permanently over, her reputation destroyed forever. What does full restitution mean? Everything, Dad. The house, my car, my retirement account, Everything we own has to be sold to pay back what I stole. So not only am I homeless because of Karen's crimes, but I'll also be penniless. At 73 years old, I'll have to start completely over with nothing. I understand if you hate me, Karen continues. I understand if you never want to see me again after this. I study her face, looking for some sign of the daughter I raised. She's there, buried under years of bad choices and selfish decisions, but she's there. I don't hate you, I say finally. But I don't like who you became. Neither do I, she whispers. The guard signals that visiting time is almost over. Karen reaches across the table like she wants to hold my hand, but stops short. Dad, can I ask you one more favor? I wait, not promising anything. When they sell the house, there are some things in the attic that belong to Mom. Photo albums, her jewelry, some letters we wrote to each other. Could you make sure those don't get thrown away? Helen's things. In all the chaos and anger, I hadn't thought about what would happen to my late wife's belongings. I'll do what I can, I promise. Walking out of the jail for the second time, I feel different than before. Less angry, but more resolved. Karen made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. My job isn't to rescue her from those consequences, it's to figure out how to rebuild my own life from nothing. Back at the diner, Rosa pours me coffee without being asked. How did it go? I tell her about the second mortgage, the forged documents, the plea deal that will leave me with absolutely nothing. That girl has some nerve, Rosa says, shaking her head. Even now, even facing prison, she's still finding ways to hurt you. I don't think she meant to hurt me, I say, surprising myself with the words. I think she's just so scared and desperate that she can't see past her own problems. Tommy Chen walks in with his backpack, ready for our after-school computer session. He's become a regular fixture at the diner, and other kids have started joining him. What began as helping one struggling student has turned into an unofficial tutoring program. Mr. Frank, are you okay? Tommy asks, noticing my expression. You look sad. Just family stuff, I tell him. Nothing you need to worry about. But as Tommy sets up his tablet and starts working on his homework, I realize something important. Even if I lose everything, the house, the savings, all the physical things I've accumulated over 73 years, I haven't lost the ability to help people. Karen thought she was protecting herself by making me feel worthless and incompetent. Instead, she pushed me toward discovering what really matters. The knowledge in my head, the skills in my hands, and the desire to make other people's lives better. Those things can't be repossessed or stolen or lost in a divorce settlement. Mrs. Patterson walks in with her ancient laptop, followed by Mr. Kowalski with his tablet, followed by Maria Rodriguez with her science project. Without planning it, I've become the neighborhood's technology support center. Frank, Rosa says quietly as I help Mr. Kowalski video chat with his son, you've built something here. Something valuable that doesn't depend on houses or bank accounts. She's right. While Karen was destroying our family's financial future, I was accidentally creating a new kind of family, one based on helping each other instead of taking from each other. The thought doesn't make losing everything hurt less, but it does make the future seem less frightening. Tomorrow, I'll start figuring out how to navigate bankruptcy and homelessness at 73. Tonight, I'll help kids with their homework and feel useful in a way that Karen's cruelty could never take away. 6 months later, I stand in the bright, newly painted community center that used to be the old Woolworth building downtown, watching Tommy Chan explain computer basics to Mrs. Patterson while her great-granddaughter helps with the mouse. The transformation still amazes me. What started as one old man helping one frustrated kid has become something neither of us could have imagined. Welcome to Silver Solutions, Tommy announces to a group of visiting city officials who want to copy our program in other towns. This is where young people and older people help each other learn new things. The name came from Maria Rodriguez, who pointed out that silver hair doesn't mean silver mines. The program has grown beyond just computer help. We now pair seniors with students for tutoring in everything from reading to math to life skills. Mayor Davidson, a woman in her 50s who's been following our success in the local newspaper, takes notes as Tommy demonstrates our refurbished computer lab. Every machine here was donated broken and brought back to life through patience and spare parts. How many people does the program serve now? She asks. 47 seniors and 63 students, I answer, still amazed by the numbers. We're open 6 days a week, 4 hours each day. What I don't mention is that this program saved my life as much as it's helped anyone else. When Karen's crimes cost me everything I owned, this community of learners gave me something more valuable than money, purpose. Rosa walks over from the small cafe area she manages in the corner of the building. She's become more than a friend over these months, though we're both too old and wise to rush into anything complicated. The afternoon session is about to start, she announces. Frank, your financial literacy class has 12 people signed up today. Financial literacy. The irony isn't lost on me that a man who lost his house to his daughter's crimes now teaches others how to protect themselves from financial fraud. But my experience with Karen's deception, combined with 40 years of managing household budgets, gives me insights that textbooks can't provide. Before we start, I tell the mayor, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Karen walks in from the back office, carrying a stack of folders and wearing the simple clothes of someone who's learned to live without luxury. She's been out of county jail for 2 months, serving the remainder of her sentence through community service here at the center. This is my daughter, I tell Mayor Davidson. She's helping us develop our fraud prevention workshops. The mayor looks confused, probably recognizing Karen's name from the newspaper coverage of her arrest. Karen steps forward with the quiet dignity of someone who's stopped running from her mistakes. I stole from this community, Karen says simply. Now I'm working to help people avoid becoming victims of people like I used to be. It took months for Karen and me to reach this point. Not forgiveness, that's still a work in progress, but understanding. She serves her community service here not because the court ordered it, but because she requested it specifically. I want to learn how to be useful instead of destructive, she told me when she first asked if she could volunteer here after her release. Watching her patiently explain internet safety to Mrs. Chen while Tommy translates into Mandarin, I see glimpses of the daughter I raised. The one who used to help her classmates with homework, who volunteered at the animal shelter, who cried when she accidentally stepped on a butterfly. That person got lost somewhere in the pursuit of status and money, but she's not gone forever. Mark, meanwhile, has disappeared completely. The divorce went through while Karen was in jail, and he moved to another state to start fresh, according to mutual friends. He got to walk away from the consequences of the lifestyle he pushed Karen toward, while she faces the reality of rebuilding her life from nothing. Mr. Kowalski raises his hand during my financial planning presentation. Frank, what should I do if my adult children want me to sign financial documents I don't understand? The question hits close to home. Never sign anything you don't completely understand, I answer. And never let anyone pressure you by saying it's urgent or that asking questions shows you don't trust them. After the session, Karen approaches me hesitantly. We still move carefully around each other, like people walking on thin ice. Dad, I wanted to thank you again for letting me work here. You earned your place here, I reply. Nobody gets special treatment, including you. She nods, understanding that this is how things have to be between us now. No more enabling, no more rescuing, no more pretending that good intentions excuse bad actions. The prosecutor called today, she says. They want me to testify in a case against the bank that approved my fraudulent loan applications. Apparently, other people have been victimized by the same lack of verification procedures. Will you do it? Yes. It's the right thing to do, even if it means admitting my crimes in public again. Tommy interrupts us, excited about something on his tablet. Mr. Frank, look at this. The State Education Department wants to feature our program in their newsletter. The article calls Silver Solutions an innovative model for intergenerational learning, and quotes several participants about how the program has improved their lives. Mrs. Patterson talks about staying connected with her family through video calls. Maria Rodriguez mentions how helping seniors with technology has improved her own patience and problem-solving skills. We're famous. Tommy grins. But fame isn't what makes this program special. What makes it special is the daily miracle of people helping each other without expecting anything in return. It's Mr. Kowalski teaching Tommy how to play chess while Tommy shows him how to use social media. It's Mrs. Patterson sharing stories about the Depression while learning to shop online. It's watching a shy kid gain confidence by explaining something to an adult. As the day winds down, I help clean up the computer lab while Karen organizes files for tomorrow's fraud prevention workshop. Rosa counts the day's cafe receipts, which help fund our program's basic expenses. Not bad for an old man who got kicked out of his own house, Rosa teases gently. She's right, though. 6 months ago, I was sleeping on a stranger's couch, convinced I was too old and useless to contribute anything meaningful to the world. Tonight, I'll go home to a small apartment I can afford because this community values what I have to offer. The apartment isn't much, 2 rooms above the hardware store, basic furniture, no fancy appliances. But it's mine, paid for with money I earned by teaching and helping instead of money I inherited or saved from someone else's work. Karen stops by my desk before leaving. Dad, I know I can never undo the damage I caused. But working here, seeing how much good you've created from something so terrible, it gives me hope that maybe I can become someone worth forgiving someday. Maybe, I say, and for the first time in months, I mean it. As I lock up the community center, I think about the journey that brought me here. 6 months ago, my daughter's cruelty and crimes destroyed everything I thought I had built over 73 years. But in losing everything, I discovered something I'd never known I was looking for. A community where experience is valued, where helping others creates its own rewards, where being useful has nothing to do with age and everything to do with heart. Tomorrow, we'll help more people connect across generations. We'll solve more computer problems and prevent more financial fraud. We'll prove again that wisdom isn't about keeping up with the latest technology. It's about understanding that the most important connections happen between people, not devices. Walking home through the quiet downtown streets, I realize Karen was right about one thing, though not in the way she meant it. I am old. But I'm not useless. I'm experienced, and there's a difference that makes all the difference in the world.